recorded. We are live from the national headquarters of the NDLEA here in the nation's federal platform is where we share information, knowledge, and raise awareness about substance abuse and its devastating impact on human. Inform you that this platform serves as a channel for us to provide you, those struggling with substance abuse, to provide them help, especially those who need treatment, those who need support, those who need help. It's equally a means for us to update you about all the activities of the agency, especially what we're doing to curb the scourge of substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking, as well as getting your feedback so that we can continue to improve on what we know how to do best, and that is to serve you, our society, and indeed humanity better. It's also important we inform you that this conversation is recorded and is streamed live on our other social media handles, especially at NDLA01 on Facebook and at NDLA TV on YouTube. You can always go to any of these platforms and take a listen to the recording much after this conversation. That's on the hour of 5 local time, and even share with others so that they can be a part of the benefits that we derive on this platform or through this conversation. Now, like I said before, I introduce our guest who is already in the house. I have seen him. Don't forget that today we will be discussing the impact of substance misuse on learning and behavior in our children and adolescents. This is very key, as I did say earlier, and that's why we're bringing in a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist all the way from the UK. He'll be speaking with us from the UK, and well, let me tell you his name. He's Dr. Ni Omokaye. We will be speaking with him. We will be inviting him to address and talk to us about this key issue today. But before we get there, we need to update you about some of the activities of the agency this past week, which normally comes in our news highlights segment, and that will be taken today by Netta and Peace. Ladies, let's have the update this week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for joining us on this week's Xspace. My name is Netta Widoje, and here are the NDLVA news highlights for the week. First, the headlines. India-bound brothers arrested at Lagos airport with 5 kilograms cocaine in walls of suitcases. As NDLVA intercepts UK techie with large consignments of loud at MMIA, nabbed 75-year-old grandpa with skunk in Abia, destroys over 250,000 kilograms cannabis in Cross River community. Operatives of the Special Operations Unit of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested 2 brothers, John Abubu and Kenneth Abubu, at the Murtala Muhammed International Airport, MMIA, Ikeja, Lagos, with 5 kilograms cocaine concealed in walls of their suitcases while attempting to board a flight to India. The 2 brothers were arrested at Lagos Airport on Thursday, 3rd April 2025, following proactive processing of credible intelligence. They claimed they were traveling to India for medical treatment, but when their suitcases were thoroughly searched by NDLEA officers, whitish powdery substances, later confirmed to be cocaine, were discovered on the walls of their bags. In a similar development, NDLEA officers of the MMIA Strategic Command same day, Thursday, 3rd April, intercepted a 20-year-old Ghanaian British man, Parker Darin Hazeika Osei, with 36 parcels of loud, a strong strain of cannabis weighing 19.40 kilograms, packed in a giant traveling bag. The suspect, who claims he is a student of computer science at East London University, United Kingdom, was arrested during the inward clearance of passengers on an Ethiopian Airlines flight from Bangkok, Thailand, at the e-arrival hall of the Lagos airport. In a statement, the techie claims he lives with his parents in the UK, but left London about a week ago for Bangkok, where he picked up the illicit drug consignment to deliver in Nigeria. Meanwhile, MDLVA operatives in Kogi State have arrested a 33-year-old lady, Ngozi Ogili, while moving 3 kilograms of methamphetamine from Lagos to Abuja. She was nabbed in a commercial transport bus along Okene-Lokoja Highway on Monday, 31st March 2025. A follow-up operation at her point of delivery in Apo Mechanic area of Abuja led to the seizure of quantities of Loud and Colorado, both synthetic strains of cannabis. In Abia State, NDLVA officers on Saturday, 5th April, arrested a 75-year-old grandpa, Nana Felix, with 1.6 kilograms skunk, a strain of cannabis, during a raid at Umunteke Asa, Okwa West local government area, while another suspect, David Chinemerem, was nabbed with 2,050 ampoules of pentazocine at number 7 Najiego Lane, Umuode Road, Aba, on Tuesday, 1st April. No fewer than 381 bottles of codeine syrup and 108 tablets of tramadol were seized from a suspect, Abdullahi Adamu, along Petiskum Damaturu Road, Yobe State, by NDLVA operatives on Saturday, 5th April, just as the raid operations at Oshogbo Motor Park, Onitsha, and a house at Oba, in Idemili local government area of Anambra State, led to the arrest of Obina Sunday and the seizure of 195,000 pills of tramadol. Also arrested during the raid at the motor park was Ugochukwu Ojalonoye with 4.2 kilograms codeine syrup and 5.4 kilograms pentazocine. In the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, NDLVA operatives on Thursday, 3rd April, arrested 51-year-old Sunday Ayogu with 25 kilograms skunk and 90.4 grams of methamphetamine during a raid operation at Wuse Market, Abuja, while 2 ladies, Faith F. Young Etim and Victoria Asuko Etim, were nabbed on Friday when NDLVA operatives, supported by men of the Nigerian Army, raided cannabis plantations in Esuk Odot community, Odupani local government area of Cross River State, where 250,000 kilograms of the psychoactive plants were destroyed on over 100 hectares of farmland. While commending the officers and men of MMIA, the Special Operations Units, Yobe, Abia, Kogi, Anambra, Cross River, and FCT command of the agency for the arrests and seizures, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of NDLVA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, stated that their operational successes and those of their compatriots across the country, especially their balanced approach to drug supply reduction and drug demand reduction efforts, are well appreciated. That's it on arrests and seizures. Next is the update on some of the wider activities across the country for the week, brought to you by my colleague, Peace.
Thank you, Netta. My name is Peace the Pastor, and here are some of the wider activities across the country for the week. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, is intensifying its efforts to fight drug abuse through the War Against Drug Abuse wider social advocacy campaign. This initiative runs on a whole of society approach, emphasizing the importance of integrating awareness and preventive measures into every strata of the society, including schools, markets, motor parks, and religious institutions. By promoting grassroots participation and encouraging shared responsibility, the agency seeks to create a strong, united front to effectively tackle and ultimately eliminate the drug scourge. On Tuesday, 1st April 2025, the Katsina State Command of NDLEA took the wider advocacy to the grassroots by organizing a sensitization lecture for residents of Dan Iyal Village, Batagarawa local government area. The outreach aimed to enlighten rural dwellers on the dangers of drug abuse, promote healthy lifestyle choices, and encourage the community to remain vigilant and united in the fight against substance misuse. On Thursday, 3rd April, the Anambra State Command continued its youth-targeted sensitization efforts by delivering a wider enlightenment lecture to students and staff of Cave City Secondary School, Ogidi. The session emphasized the psychological, social, and academic risks posed by drug abuse its activities on Friday, 4th April, the Zone 2 Command of NDLEA held a wider sensitization session for members of the Nigerian Association of Patent and Proprietary Medicine Dealers, NAPMED, in Sangere and Panawaya, Yola. The lecture focused on responsible drug dispensing, the dangers of selling controlled substances without proper authorization, and the pivotal role of medicine dealers in curbing access to illicit drugs at the community level. The session also served to enforce ethical practices among patent medicine vendors in line with the national drug control policies. That's the update for this week. My name is Peace, and I hand you over to our host, Mr. Femi Babafemi.
All right, thank you very much, dear Peace and Netta. Welcome back from the news highlight segment. Now let's remind ourselves about some of the rules guiding our process of engagement on this program today. Please note that when you are approved to be on the speaker's corner, please ensure that you remain muted until after our guest presentation, and we'll start inviting individuals to unmute themselves one after the other to make their contributions or ask questions. And we also implore us to please do this in few seconds so that we can, as much as possible, make this very participatory. That is, get as many people as possible to be able to ask questions or make contributions. Let's ensure that we stick to these rules so that we can all enjoy and benefit from the conversation. We'd like to thank you for your usual cooperation, and this actually makes this program one of the foremost on this platform. All right, let's invite Dr. Mokanri to please come on the speaker's corner now so that we can properly introduce him. But before we get there, I'll expect Dr. Mokanri to please come on the speaker's corner. Request for the mic, we'll approve that, and then I formally introduce him. Okay. Dr. Omokai is already there. Okay, let's quickly remind you about the NDLEA's call center. That's a platform where the agency puts in place where we have a wide range of psychosocial support services, providing help, assistance to those who might be in their homes and they need help, but they don't. I'm talking of those struggling with substance abuse. Know how to go about it, but they need the help like urgently, and so they need a contact on how to get the needed help. This NDLEA's call center provides that bridge where those who are in need of help and the needed help. So at the NDLEA call center, we have our counselors, we have clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, we have psychiatric doctors who work 24/7 every day of the week to provide support to all of those who need help. Wherever you may be in any part of the country, all you need to do is to dial our toll-free helpline, which is 0800 10 20 30 40. The number to call again if you need help, you want help for your loved one, or you need information, or you want to give information to the NDLEA. All you need to do is to call our toll-free helpline. You are not paying for the call, the bill is on us. The line to call is 0800 1020 3040. That's all you need to do, and then you have our experts on the other side of the line talking with you, and you can be sure of your utmost confidentiality and privacy. That is assured. They actually don't really need your name or who you are. All they need is the issue, and they provide you the needed support and the needed help. So please feel free, wherever you are, you can rest assured you are not going to be judged and you are not going to be stigmatized. So there is really no cause to be afraid to reach out and seek help. So And another thing about this call center is that it's very much language sensitive, meaning that if you can't speak English or pidgin English, wherever you are, in any part of the country, you should be able to speak any of the three major Nigerian languages, that is Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. I can assure you that our experts at the call center can talk to you in any of these three major languages, and then you really get the help you need. This is part of our efforts to bring support, psychosocial support services to those in the rural communities who may not be able to have access to primary or even tertiary medical facilities to get help. You can rest assured that right on the call there, our experts would support you, assist you, and if there is need to check the person who needs help physically into a rehab facility, they will tell you the closest facility to you, guide you through and support you and all through your treatment, and also follow up till you are reintegrated back to your family. That's I promise, and that's what we do at the NDLA call center. Thank you very much for that. Now let's introduce our guest speaker today. I told you he's joining us from the UK, and he's no other person than Dr. Niyo Mokanye, a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist. Now, let me tell you one or two things about Dr. Mokanye. Like I said, he is a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist with the Oxford Health NHS Foundation Trust in England and a member of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. With a background in public health and a focus on epidemiology and advanced biostatistics, Dr. Mokanye brings a strong evidence-based approach to supporting young people's mental health. His clinical work centers on the mental well-being of children and adolescents, particularly in the areas of neurodevelopmental conditions such as ADHD and autism spectrum disorders, and the impact of substance misuse on learning and behavior, which invariably is our focus on our conversation today. Dr. Mokanye is professionally registered in Nigeria, the Republic of Ireland, and the United Kingdom, and is deeply committed to improving educational outcomes through mental health support and early intervention. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Niyo Mokanye as I invite him to unmute himself while we listen to him spend the next 30-40 minutes discuss our topic for the day, and that is the impact of substance misuse on learning and behavior in children and adolescents. Please go ahead and let's hear from you, Dr. Mokanye. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, and I'm deeply honored to be invited to speak at this forum. Good afternoon, listeners, my co-warriors in this struggle, the professionals, families, mothers, fathers, teachers, and general public. Just like the moderator just briefly introduced, this topic is really key, and I think is central to the important stage of managing substance misuse and substance dependency disorder. In order not to take too much of our time, because I think interaction, on this topic will be the most beneficial. So what I will do is just to have a very brief overview on what is important, and then talk about the scientific explanation on why young people, especially adolescents, are more vulnerable than adults at developing substance misuse disorder, which is, if we look at it as a disease, not just about our behavior. Also, I will also want to look at what, in terms of behavior, the teachers and the parents and carers have to look at, as a way of identifying a red flag at the early stage stage when their words are beginning to experiment or trying to use substances as a means of coping, which of course we all know. This, I think, would help us in planning help, especially with the early intervention and prevention, which of course we all know that it is the most economical, more easy, and more effective at managing and preventing public problem relating to substance misuse. It's always, it does make sense that if, as like other diseases, like, when, physical doctors are talking about diabetes, they're talking about hypertension, there's always that public lecture more on prevention than the actual disease happening and then wanting to treat it. If I go through especially because the topic is about the impact on the behavior and learning, of course we all know what the result is, which is always about negativity. Definitely substance misuse affect learning. In the fact that when you try to differentiate between the immediate impact on learning, the early and then late impact, we tend to focus more on the late impact, which is about when a child starts struggling to learn and then outrightly run away from learning because they can't learn. There's problem with focusing, problem with concentration and attention, and then all they do is just to escape, and then that's when you start to see them avoiding school, truancy, and then total stoppage, and then at home or in the community, the extreme of the behavior that we tend to focus more on is when an adolescent start to run away, missing, fighting, becoming aggressive, running away from home, and then becoming a threat to the public. So, but what we will be focusing on today, which of course is going to help us in the prevention, is the immediate effect on the behavior and the early effect on the behavior, which is going to help the teacher and the family together. So talking about the general impact of substance misuse, before I go into the scientific reasons why children are more vulnerable, we all know that substance misuse in adolescents has very significant biopsychosocial effects, which of course, impacts on their biological processes and psychological well-being, including their social functioning and potentially leading to long-term consequences like mental health issues, academic difficulties, and relationship problems. So to break it down, in terms of brain development, when a young person's brain is exposed to substances, it disrupts the development of the brain in terms of the brain structure and then the function of the brain, and then which of course in turn affects a child's ability to think properly. It also affects their emotional regulation and then their decision making altogether. It does affect their physical health, and you know that when the physical health is not okay, definitely it's going to affect every other aspect of human life. Their self-esteem, they can become socially isolated, and then there is an increased risk of criminality activity. The social norms within the society become something that they find it really difficult to adhere with. Family dynamics, they can become really strange, and parents finding it difficult to monitor them, and there's always a conflict and poor communication education as a result of that. Now, to just brief introduction about brain development as it affects behavior, about substance misuse and substance dependence in early teenage and adolescent life. I know, of course, most of us would have been wondering, sometimes when our children behave somehow, we just look at them and then, why would this happen? Why would you do that? Without any meaningful response that, convince us as to the reason why a teenager behave the way they behave. Sometimes you can just observe the mood swings and then they are taking risks unnecessarily. And then everybody just ascribe it to, it's part of development, because the hormonal change. So what is difficult is differentiating the normal development from someone who is having mental health difficulties, emotional difficulties, and substance misuse. So these three aspects, it can be really confusing, and I think this is a complex situation where most families struggle to identify and then being able to know when something is going wrong. The research, clinical research has shown that brain development play a significant role in shaping our behavior. In other words, there's a biological reason why teenagers often act the way they do. And I think the reason is just that the science of brain development reveals why adolescents are responsive to new experiences and influences, especially when they are beginning to learn from others, copy their friends' behavior, the one that they think is fashionable, even if it is negative. That is well accepted to society. So this makes the 10 years period of a very great promise, especially when it shows the positivity. But also, it is also of the potential risk, especially for something like addiction or substance misuse. And this is the reason why preventing and delaying substance use during this time is very, very important to achieve long-term health benefit. So, from the early adolescent through the mid to late 20s, the brain development is not even. And I think, as some of us would already know, that the part of the brain that seems to develop first is the one that controls our physical activities like walking, balancing, and then the next one would be the emotional development, motivational center. But the prefrontal, there's a place where they call the prefrontal cortex, and this is one that is responsible for impulse control, more reasoning thoughts, good judgment, which of course is the last one to develop. And this is the reason why the pattern of behavior relating to brain development in adolescents is always about their difficulties holding back or controlling their emotions. And they're always looking for a preference for high excitement and exploration of new activities, which could explain some of the reasons why they want to try new things. They find it very difficult to plan, and they have very limited ability to make judgment, and then in turn become more risky, and then having all this kind of impulsive behaviors. An example is, trying new things like substance misuse, and also there are some also other positive learning as well. So the frontal cortex, that is the frontal part of the brain that is responsible for reasoning, it develops last, and I think it's part of the center that is also about reward, short-term reward, which leads to unpredictable unpredictable and sometimes risky behavior. So unfortunately, developing brains are very susceptible than the brains of the adults to damage from the outside influence as well. So this means substance use during the adolescent age creates more distinct risk for immediate and lasting harm. And that is why we would need to start to focus on the progression of the beginning and the progression of substance misuse problem from the young age, particularly at the transition between the teen to the adolescents and younger adult stage. Now, the effect of substance use on developing brain, just like I've said, there's an area of the brain where, well, of course, like we all understand that there's a chemical system within the brain that controls, all our activities, emotions, impulsive behavior, and all that. So dopamine is a chemical in the brain that is, it's to be the one that actually mediates the reward system. And in young adolescents, this is not well developed, and that's why they can be deranged in a situation where they want to regulate their activities and all that. Because also that teenagers have an overactive impulse to seek pleasure and less ability to consider consequences as a result of all that I've explained, they are more vulnerable than the adults. So to talk about the specific things that we need to talk, that we will start to look at as parents and teachers in managing the problem of early progression of substance misuse, or at the stage where young people are beginning to experiment drug misuse. We figured it out in a young person can be really, really challenging. I can agree with this. But with constant and good motivations from parents and teachers, and also if there could be a way of introducing some form of curriculum where constant or periodic screening of young people would be helpful in the prevention and early intervention so that it doesn't progress to a major problem in the later age. So why it is difficult is because many of the signs or behavior that one tend to observe in young people who are at the beginning of trying substances, the signs can actually mimic if a child is having some form of major mental health disorder on the background or has the primary problem. It can be very difficult to know whether it is which is primary. Is it the drug misuse or is it an underlying mental health difficulties? Also, another condition that can mimic at the initial time would be some other neurodevelopmental conditions like learning disability, like even major mental health problems like depression, anxiety. So just like I've said, lots of motivation from parents and teachers actually can help to spot or reason out the difference. So if a parent have a reason to suspect that a child might be using substance, such parents shouldn't be afraid to err on the side of the caution. Prepare to act and have a conversation during which you can ask direct questions like, have you been drinking? Have you had a vapor? Or are you using drugs? Although, of course, it is understandable that most parents don't want to hear yes as an answer, but it is very, very important that we don't continue to be defensive about this, because the moment you become defensive, the problem persists, and the longer the problem, the more extended and more difficult and complex it is for us to be able to solve it. So, parents have to be prepared, to hear yes, and would have to respond appropriately, not judgmental, and seek to assure the child of confidentiality, and then can proceed and start to observe some of all these behaviors. So when a parent start to notice changed relationship with family members or friends, it might be gradual, it might be sudden. You just see that your child's friends are no longer the friends you used to hang out with. Is beginning to make new friends, and also a child becomes exhibiting some form of truancy, absenteeism, or losing interest in school, or any form of assignment or giving tasks to complete at home. Then when he's been engaged in some form of conversation, he's avoiding eye contact. He's beginning to be suspicious, locking the door, also disappearing for some time, goes out too often than before, and then frequently breaking curfew. He's becoming secretive with the use of their phones, makes endless excuses about things, especially as regards to school. When you observe a child using chewing gum or mints to cover up their breath, and they often use over-the-counter preparation to reduce their eye or redness or nasal irritation, complain about all these kind of simple things, and then you're beginning to observe they are becoming more unusually clumsy and stumbling, lacking coordination, poor balance, and then there are periods where you observe that sleeping excessively than usual, and then periods where you observe that you're having too much or energy becoming excessive, and with the need to catch up sleep sometimes when they are losing sleep. Their personal hygiene has changed. They're becoming very non-caring about the way they look, which is poor hygiene and all that. In order to make up for all this, to be able to know whether this is a result of an underlying problem or just simply about substance being used, further things that you might want him to look at would be when they're having frequent sickness, complaining about sickness all the time, unusually tired, unable to speak intelligently, slow speech, rapid fire speech. You're observing nosebleeds too often, which is very unusual, and then having a lot of allergies. I know this is really a lot, but we'll come to specifically what you need to look at in order to call for help, which is the minimum requirement to make sure that you don't. And then the ones you would not like to see is the seizures, or when you see them vomiting, which might be as a result of an overdose. Now, you also want to know how and where to look for signs of drug use. You might make use of your nose. There are smells that is strange that you don't know, you're not familiar with, that read a red flag. Look them in the eyes, pay attention to their eyes, which often than normal will be red, heavy lidded with constricted pupils, depending on what type of drugs they're using, especially marijuana. Pupils will be dilated and they may have difficulties focusing if they've been drinking also. And then what you can easily observe, of course, you've observed there's change in the pattern of their behavior, especially when they're just coming back from a friend, night out, are they particularly loud, nonsense or laughing hysterically at nothing, or usually clumsy, just like I said, earlier on. Now, in order to streamline this, which is minimum requirement before you seek help, what you need to look out, and then now it is being suggested that when you observe your child or ward unduly look depressed or with mood swing, which is happen for a short time, or that's number one. Number two, if you observe that there's been change in friendship. Number three is when you have observed declining in school performance. Someone who's been having, A grade becoming B, someone who's been having C grade becoming D or E, that should raise a red flag. And then when you've observed that your child is losing interest in their normal hobbies, someone who's been interested in playing football, that's the constant interest that if they don't do it, is always a problem, and then all of a sudden they just stopped, and then you're finding out what is the problem. They couldn't explain what the reason is. So this for behavioral change, appear depressed or mood swing, change in friendship, declining school performance, loss of interest in their normal hobbies. You don't have to wait until you start observing them stealing, or seeking for money, or borrowing money, or involved in fights, or being afraid of people chasing them around the community, especially drug dealers, before you start to act. When you satisfy all these four factors. So what do you need to do? What you need to do is just to look for screening, and I think you observing actually started the screening process. So that should raise a red flag. So what you need to do is to contact, if you are not sure, if you are not able, well, we've talked about confronting for the first time and ask if there's any problem, but if you can't establish what the problem is, I think the advice would be to contact a professional who is going to help with this. There's a way they will do the screening. If there is no evidence of substance misuse, I think that would dictate whether there's an underlying problem like depression, anxiety that needs to be treated. But if there is an evidence of substance misuse, this is when they would know at what stage. Was it at the mild stage, moderate, or severe? And also to help to establish what form of substance and what form of intervention to be initiated. It might just be like counseling, it might just be some kind of family intervention, and if your child hasn't been speaking about their problem, I think this would open the channel, for families to start conversing as to how they can go about solving the problem that initiates this. I think I would here so that we can allow for question and answer, which I think is the most important aspect of this discussion today. Once again, thank you for giving me this time at this platform to share this.
All right, we would like to appreciate our guest speaker today, Dr. Misuse Omokanye. Dr. Omokanye is a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist in the UK. Thank you very much for taking your time to break this topic today, that is impact of substance misuse on learning and behaviors in children and adolescents. Indeed, we will still have quite a lot of more conversation for another hour, definitely, because of the questions streaming in. Okay, but first, before we get to the engagement proper, that is engagement with Dr. Omokanye, questions, interrogations, and contributions. So if you have your questions, you have contributions, this is the time for you to ask to be on the speaker's corner. When we approve you, please ensure that you remain muted until we invite you to unmute yourself, ask your questions, and make your contribution. We'd also appreciate those already sending questions to DM. Thank you for that. But quickly, let's appreciate some of our compatriots across the world on this space and those who are joining us on other social media handles, especially at NDLA Oman on Facebook and at NDLA TV on YouTube. We appreciate all of you. All right, thank you very much. Quickly, let's appreciate Dr. James Komalafe. Dr. James Komalafe has been awesome on this platform. Thank you, Dr. James Komalafe, for being part of the conversation again today. I've also seen a friend and a colleague there, OAP, Nigeria. I guess this is the first time I'm seeing you on this platform. I don't know whether I didn't look out for you. All right. Thank you. We also have Dr. Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah is a consultant psychiatrist at the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah, for always being around. We also have Ibrahim Kuru. Ibrahim Kuru is an advocate and a person in recovery. I believe Brian Cole joins us from the Northeast. We have Soil Whisper NG, we have Black Man, we have Diane Lawrence, thank you. Victoria Uchechi, thank you. Alexander Okoro, Alexander Okoro is the founder, Alexander and Antonia Foundation, thank you. Oluwatosin Adeyemi, thank you. I have seen you, Oluwatosin, we'll get to you shortly. I know we'll have people that are eager to engage with Dr. Wasiu, Dr. Mukani. Okay, we also have Sadatu Usman. Sadatu Usman is also an advocate and a woman in recovery. Thank you, Sadatu, for being part of the conversation today. We have Muhammad Abba. Thank you, Muhammad. We have Ali Wakawa. Ushe Grace Uwobu. We have Susan Iyoha, Idoko Samson from Short Jimo. From Short Jimo is a regular. We have drug abuse and illicit sex. Thank you. Najib Ali Jafar. Thank you. We have Commander there, Michelle Ofoye. Thank you, Michelle. Dr. West, that's another of our officers in the agency. Abdulmalik Yahaya, thank you, Abdulmalik. Abdulmalik was on this platform last week. Yusuf Sidi, thank you. Lida Ogu Ali Ogiri, thank you. Caleb Dospa, thank you. Foundation for Community Empowerment, thank you. Basir Abubakar, thank you. Ushi Israel, thank you. Confidence Traders Asisma Asia, thank you. Obia Bumu Adaobi, thank you very much. Most especially, I'd like to appreciate all of those that may not be able to mention their name, whether on the Xspace here or those joining us via Facebook or YouTube channel. We appreciate all of you. Time will not permit us to read out the names of everybody, but quickly let's have the conversation. Okay, let's take the one from Oluwatosin first. Oluwatosin, so that your hand will not be paining you because you have raised the hand for too long. Please go ahead and mute yourself and let's hear your contribution, your question quickly. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm glad that I'm on this space, and then I learned a lot from the elder speaker. My name is Oluwatosin Adeyemi. I'm a teacher. I'm also a bedside advocate. I'm taking basic science and technology for junior secondary school students. And the subject, there are enough topics that address drugs and substance abuse. And anytime taking that topic, I always spend enough time to make sure that my students will understand the impact of this drug abuse. So, and also as a bedside advocate, I'm the Lagos State coordinator. So one of the things we do is to organize school outreaches and then speak on different topics that address both sides. So one of them is this drug abuse, because if you observe, if you go to your prison today, they are filled with mostly men. Most criminality are done by men, and if you look at thoughts and of the social vices that happen in society, so they are mostly men. So the objective of this organization is to make sure that, because we understand that in our society, girls' child are mostly focused on, but also we're neglecting the boys' child. So our objective is to make sure that we depopulate the criminality and what the boys' child has been subjected to over the years. So my question now is that, as public, how can we partner with NGLA at least to have a resourceful person as the older speaker that just address us, so that we can invite him or anyone, one of the speaker, to speak to some of these students on the effects of this drug abuse. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Oluwatosin Adeyemi. We appreciate your contribution in your sphere of influence in the school and among within your organization, that's your NGO as well. Thank you very much. But I believe the question you asked is directed at the NGLA, and so I'll tell you straight forward that indeed, if you're seeking any collaboration or partnership with the agency, you need resource persons. I don't know where you are, if you are in Lagos or any state across the country, just reach out to our command closest to you, whether the area command or the state command, and if you can't reach any of them, come to us in our DM and then tell us you want to give you the contact of somebody around you or the command near you that you can reach out to them. You can also go on our website. We have telephone numbers of our commands on our website to contact them, and if you have any issue relating with them or getting what you want from any of them, please reach out to us. My DM is there and the official handles of the agency. You also can reach out to us through any of this, but we will be glad very well to partner with you, to work with you, and to work with you to educate. Yeah, that's exactly what we do every day of the week across the country. All our commands, they have the mandate to go to schools, to worship centers, to workplaces, motor parks, health facilities, homes, communities, everywhere, and talk to them, sensitize them, and raise awareness about substance abuse and its devastating impact. While we also set up peer groups within these areas, within these communities and these places, and then get in touch with them so that we can continue to build partnership and relationship with them. That's exactly all we do as part of our preventive measures in our drug demand reduction activities. That's a whole of society approach. Thank you very much. Let's take the next one from Alexandra. Alexandra, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi. Welcome for the great work and the entire team. I also want to appreciate our speaker today, Dr. Omokaye. Thank you. It was a revealing one for me, and I am really interested in this because this is the area where Alexander and Antonia Foundation really has pitched their tent. We are currently engaging with young people with two of our products, Pills of Integrity, which is a character formation workbook to help ensure that they are built internally to resist most of these vices, and then of course our drug-free exercise book, which is known to the NDLEA. Sir, my question to you is one I think that would also help us to deepen our work and have more success rates, okay, with schools and students. I want to know if there is a document, because you mentioned something I think is very important. You mentioned periodic screening, okay, among amongst young people in school, which of course will help us nip this in the bud before they even get out of hand. So I want to know, is there an established document, a data collection document that can be used for screening of teenagers that is accessible to compatriots like us, okay, in dealing with younger teenagers, okay? Because I believe if there's a document like that is established that one can use to connect with schools and have periodic screening, we'll be able to have better results with this young one. So that's my question, sir. Thank you.
Is that for ideally or Dr. Mokari, please?
No, that is both for, okay, so that is going to Dr. Mokai. However, if of course if the NDLA has such the answer, then it solves it.
Okay, that's fine. Let's invite Dr. Mokai to respond to that. I can also add to that later. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Alexander. Or an adolescent is just kind of to experiment this product, or other reason, maybe as a way of coping with stress or underlying mental health difficulties like depression, anxiety, neurodevelopmental problem, learning disability. Like we all know, drug use problem is usually not a primary problem. It's just kind of, it could be a secondary problem. So what this screening tool depending on his own response, maybe they have another form of tool they can help you with. But if that is not available, then maybe there is one we can adopt or maybe come up that can be used within the community for general screening. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Mokai. And in addition to what Dr. Mokai said, the agency at the moment has two programs. One that is the Save Our Families campaign, and then there is also the drug integrity test. These two programs are basically driving screening across all of these layers, starting from the home, the workplaces, the communities, and we do all of this. First, not they are not. In fact, quite a lot of government institutions at the moment have adopted this policy, even though it is not a law. But then it's driven by advocacy. Don't forget, here in Nigeria, we started this campaign early enough to get schools to buy into it, to get government at all levels to buy into it, to ensure screening for those seeking to be joined in marriage, in holy matrimony, all of these layers. The agency at the moment is carrying out all of this, and we have a very good process. And if Alexandra would want to be a part of this, just get in touch with us so that we can link you up with our command close to you, and then they can support you in the process of carrying out these screening exercises. I can tell you it's something available in all our commands across the country, and that has been going on well, and is getting quite a lot of buy-in and support from the different stakeholders. Thank you very much, Dr. Mokaye, and thank you, Alexander, for the question. Very key and important. And as we often say, this is not in any way punitive. It's just to prevent, because one of the things we do tell our parents and our stakeholders is which has really strengthen their confidence in the process in this particular mechanism is it's not punitive, it's not the whole essence is to discover early if any of these people already have contact with substances, and if perhaps any of them test positive, then the whole essence is to bring help to them early enough so that they are not the situation does not get out of hand, not that when the situation already gets out of hand before people start seeking help. That is one, to prevent, two, to bring help early enough so that people who are already in contact with substances can get treatment early enough, and three, it also has a deterrent effect. When people know that they are going to be tested, there seems to be that restraint. They try to avoid experiences on the field since we started this whole process, that I can assure you. But then, like I said, we are always open to that partnership with any organization involved in this process or interested in this process. We'll just link up with our command closest to you to work with on that. We have quite a lot of state governments that have already adopted this. We have quite a lot of institutions, private and public, that also have bought into this. So that's that. Okay, I'm seeing Dr. James Komolakre trying to come on the. You may have to. I think maybe it's your network, because I've approved your request more than once. So I guess let's hope it goes through this time around. But if not, you may have to exit and come back again. Maybe it's your network. All right, that is that. Thank you very much. I believe that satisfies Alexander. Okay, let's come to Ibrahim Kul. Ibrahim Kul, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for having me again today. I want Dr. Mokaye to please shed some light on functional addiction, because as someone who started his addiction so early in life, some of these signs he mentioned, like low academic performance and all that, I was able to beat that because I was a superb athlete and my academics were very good all throughout secondary school. So I think there's a need for people to know about functional addiction, which sometimes we feel it is okay to take these substances as long as we are delivering certain kind of performances. So that is that. And also I'd like to I think that's all for now. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ibrahim. Let's invite Dr. Mokaye to respond to that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really interesting, functional addiction. So the way it is this, and I think it's just like in some other, neuropsychological problems, the fact that someone has a specific addiction difficulty doesn't mean they can't function in some other areas. The brain is such a very complex and very unpredictable organ of the body. Some people, there's just that innate ability within the system of the brain where you compensate, even if there is a problem with how could explain part of the reason why you were able to function despite the fact that you have a specific problem you're struggling with. Also, sometimes it depends on what particular substance someone is struggling with. You would think that I'm trying as much as possible to avoid the word addiction. People look at it as a problem rather than being arrested within that particular thing. So for you, I think you have your own story, which also depends on your social network and support around you as well. And just like you would know, treatment for substance misuse disorder is not just about medical or psychological. Social treatment in itself is one of the most important intervention in substance misuse problem. When you start to, and that's why it's always very important when people are talking about problem with substance misuse, there's always a story behind it. When people listen to your story, they know why it works for you and why it doesn't work for others. There's only the difference in people's stories, and that plays a huge impact in the way people respond to support. Does that help?
I believe so. I believe definitely Ibrahim must have gotten the clarity. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you, Dr. Mokaye. Okay, before we have quite a lot, I pray we'll be able to attend to the questions in our DM. But then before we get to, before I invite Caleb, please let's give Dr. James Mokaye the mic now. Please, Doc, go ahead. Yeah, Dr. James Omokaye. No, not Omokaye. Dr. James Komolafe. Sorry. Dr. James Komolafe, please go ahead. Okay, I guess Dr. Komolafe is struggling with his network.
Okay, can't hear me.
Okay, we can hear you now. Okay, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
From that end, more grease to your elbow, sir. Just to support what you told Okoro Alexander. What we did here in our space in Cyber Resources, Nigeria, is to create a globally compliant psychometric analysis to help even the ignoramus to take assessment and evaluation, giving the various risk factors that are germane to wherever around our client. So for free, we're going to give NAFDAC and Mr. Okoro the various psychometric analysis we created and detailings to capture anyone, the youth, the adolescent, behavior as far as drug usage, substance misuse is concerned, so that by the time you run those reality checks, using the skills we have provided, you will know what next to do, who to contact, where to go, how to talk to the family, at least at your own level. That is the little I want to add there, so that everybody can be informed. Even parents, they can look at associated risk factors, symptoms, and then watch out for various triggers they can find around. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you very much there, Dr. James Komalafe. Very resourceful. All right, I don't think it's just his contribution is just complementary to what Dr. Wasiu Omokaye had said. I've seen quite a number of some of our compatriots, especially Valeta Obiano, thank you for being part of the conversation today. Mike here, that's Musoni Michaeli, thank you for being around today. We're also seeing Prince S. Eshinokai. Prince Eshinokai is a military personnel in the US. I believe he's still currently in service in Asia. Thank you very much, Prince, for taking time to join our conversation today. We have also seen AGN. Thank you, AGN, for being part of our conversation today. And Solas, thank you. We will be taking as more people as we can as time permits before the top of the hour. Okay, let's take the next contribution from Caleb. Please, Dotma, please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, my facilitator and moderator. Thank you for the impactful topic today. My name is Caleb Godliness, a public health professional. My question is like this, goes this way. It's like a story form. I once had a friend in my secondary school days who is finding it difficult to cope with academics, and the Lord indulged himself with drugs, and this India hemp Igbo. So the first day he took that drugs, he went on with his study. He just carried his book and started, because he is somebody that is passionate and want to learn. He carried his book and started going through it. He discovered that he started comprehending, and at the long run he now got used to taking the Igbo, because whenever he takes the Indian hemp, he discovered that his IQ open, his rate of understanding increases. So talking about how to mitigate or cope such lifestyle, I want to ask, what measure can we use to talk such persons out of taking drugs, seeing that this person is seeing the positive aspect of the drug in his life? Thank you, that's my question.
Thank you very much, Greg. Please go ahead, Dr. Wasiu.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. I'm hearing echo of my voice. Is that from me or from? Okay, yeah, I think it's better now. Sorry about that.
I think it's because somebody is off now.
Okay, no worries. So thanks, Mr. Caleb. This is really a very, very important question, particularly with the topic that we're talking about today. If you remember from my early presentation, drug use problem sometimes is secondary. It is not the primary problem. So I want to believe with this your friend probably was just using that cannabis to cope with whatever an underlying problem is. I've had a couple of young people, in practice who would confront me in the clinic. Sorry, there's a mouse there. So who would confront me in the clinic and ask me to prescribe legal cannabis, in order for them to continue to be able to concentrate, focus and relax, And when it is an issue like this, it always calls for proper evaluation and assessment of this young person. I want to believe his primary problem wasn't about learning disability. He can learn if there is no any underlying issue. I want to believe, I'm not sure, it could be that maybe he's having a form of neurodevelopmental condition, particularly the one I would be thinking about would be, ADHD is quite common, with young people using cannabis to cope, to relax, to help to focus. But the problem is the untoward effect of constant and use of cannabis. Chronic users, of course, we all know that it is associated with major mental health conditions, particularly psychosis. So, back to your question, what one needs to do in this particular, case, I think what one needs to do is to make referral to mental health specialists to do a thorough, comprehensive assessment as to know what is the underlying problem, and then institute, appropriate intervention. Does that answer the question?
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Will Dr. Komalafe want to speak to this? Can Dr. Komalafe hear me? Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Can you repeat the question again? I wasn't really concentrating.
Okay, Kele, can you repeat the question?
Okay, sir. The question goes like this. I once had a friend during our secondary school days who was finding it difficult to cope academically, and as a result, he was introduced to drugs.
Okay.
When he started taking this cannabis, he discovered that he could perform very well in academics. So my question is, how do we talk such person? What measures are we going to use to talk such person out of using drugs, seeing that he's seen the positive effect or impact of the drug in his life?
Okay, simple question. Number one, anybody who takes drug without professional recommendation is abusing it. The fact that you have headaches, Dr. Mokonye will tell you that, because I read he's also a medical doctor, does not mean you should just go and take Panadol. If you are not diagnosed and you just feel, oh, I have headache, let me take Panadol, let me take some other drug, so as to just quell the headache. You might be treating the effect while leaving the root cause analysis deep inside you, which was what Dr. Mokonye said. So, that you take cannabis or whatever and you have a temporary respite does not mean it is a solution. Anything you do out of professional violation will always lead to a consequence you cannot manage. And so when you cannot manage the consequence, of course, the impact assessment on you may not show immediately. And that is how it is with most mental health issues. You violate, you do the wrong, you may not see the impact immediately, but it will accumulate. Why is it accumulating? Because you accommodated it in the first instance. And like Dr. Mokonye said, there is always a reason, an underlying reason and factor why people do drugs. Nobody in his ordinary sense who doesn't have no problems just felt, let me take to drugs. They take it just to quell something, not knowing that the same way herbalists work, I'm sorry if there's a herbalist here, they take away problem, as it were, quote and unquote, and give you 3 others. That's exactly what happens when you abuse drugs.
That's a case of buy one, take 4.
for your thing. But the fact that you legitimate drugs that is recommended by the medical has its own side effect, how much more the one that was not recommended to you? So you are committing self-sabotage, you are endangering your life, you are not being able to see the bigger picture reality of the after effect, the consequence of your action now. And it's just a deceit to think that, oh, since I started taking it and my body is strong now, it will. Yes, every drug you in the corollary is to say, what can this boy do? What can this student do in the alternative so that he can do it right, work it right? What are the options available to him that will ginger his emotion, bring back his cognition, and help him to cope very well during exam, doing the right thing for the right reason, getting the right answer? Violence is not the way. You are violent when you do the wrong, even when it has not manifested outside. And evidence of external violence is the internal violation, which begins when you disobey your ethical, sane lifestyle protocol. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Komalafe. I saw Dr. Omokaye. You are muted. You wanted to say something?
I just wanted to thank Dr. Komalafe for that direct and thought-provoking response, which is really helpful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We're blessed to have great resourceful persons in the house today. Thank you very much there to Dr. Omokaye and Dr. James Komalafe. All right. Okay. Let's give some space to those in our DM. Let's quickly read, take some messages or some questions from our DM. Okay. Let's read this one from Colade. Colade said, Dr. Omokaye, thank you for your presentation. Very precise and elucidating. Thank you very much. My question is, you said parents shouldn't waste time in confronting their kids or asking the question when they suspect or are getting uneasy about their suspicion of the likelihood of substance use. But there are also fears that this may drive these children or wards to be more careful, secretive, or even running away from the house. How do we then reconcile the need to engage with these children and the fear of driving them to go underground or even totally flee from the house? Thank you very much. All right, that's from Colade. Thank you, Dr. Omokaye. Please go ahead.
Yeah, that's a very helpful question, and I think this is a very gray area. We are all parents, and at one point or another, there's always that fear as to how do we know this, or how do we deal with this? One thing that is sure is, if you try to shy away from it, you can never solve it. If you allow your child to be in control, there's no time you're ever going to take control back. There's always that transition that you fear that you might lose everything. And just like we've been discussing, the stage at which prevention is always very effective and, cost effective, better managed, preventing major problem that is going to be of threats to the society and general public. So what is simple is this: the relationship between parents and a child is very, very important, and I think it should be the kind of open relation. Let me tell you my own personal experience, and I think it's always the way I confront it. I've always wondered about child development and at what point are they most vulnerable. The fear is always at the transitions, especially moving from primary school to secondary school. There's always that peer pressure where your child wants to fit in, and I think it must have happened to most of us, while we were in primary school, secondary school, and then going into higher institution. There was a time I was taking my child to a party. In fact, the first time we ever attended a party, and I took him there. There was my cousin by my side. We drove him off. That was the first time we would ever attend a party, and then we dropped him off. He was a shy type, so we left him there and then drove back home. So we went back to pick him after the whole thing, and then the direct question I asked him was, "Did you smoke?" He said, "Why, Dad?" I said, "Did anybody ask you to smoke?" I said, "Why?" I said, "Okay." And then my cousin was looking at me. Why would you ask him that such a question? And then I insisted, "Did anybody offer you a cigarette?" And then he said, yeah, they did. He said, actually, they did. And then we got back home. And then that opened a conversation. And then we began to talk. I said, anytime you touch a cigarette, that means you've lost it. That direct, instruction I gave him. So, honestly, there's never a time where you want to entertain the fear that if you confront them about certain behavior that is going to damage the relationship. I think what is important is the form of relationship you establish with your child. In the past where parents will tell children not to talk when elders are talking, I think that period is long gone, to be honest. I know many people would not want to agree with me. It depends on how we value our social interaction with our child. Some people would attach much importance to having always open conversation with your child, which of course establish a better relationship and trusting relationship at the earlier time. And I think they go with that up until when they get to the teenage age. You will discover that there is nothing that happens that they would not want to tell you. If they go to school, of course they are making contact with people outside. If someone says, try this, it is good. If they get back home, I'm telling you, you're going to be the first person they will tell. That this is what happened at school. Or if they are bullied, and that bullying is a primary problem that can lead to various other things, they will tell you, I've been bullied. There are a lot of children who can't even tell parents that they are bullied because of the fear that they're going to be, blamed for it, So there's always a reason to balance it. There's always that fear, and everybody entertain that fear. But how to defeat that fear is what is really important, to be able to confront and talk to them about something like as risky substance misuse. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much there, Dr. Mokaye. We appreciate the in-depth response and analysis. Okay, I believe Kolade must have been satisfied with that. Let's take this one from Okediwa. Okay, Okediwa commended, praised Dr. Mokaye. Then he or she is asking, okay, we know quite a lot of families or situations where young children and even young adolescents in their homes or under the care of guardians or family members. My question then is, what role do trauma and abuse play in the relationship between substance misuse and behavioral problems, and how do we prevent this? Thank you. All right, thank you, Kediba. Dr. Mokai, over to you, please.
Yeah, this is another important question. And I think what you want to know is, how do we manage complication of trauma and abuse in a family? And I think substance misuse is the potential complication of it in a situation where such young people have not been able to trust anyone who can support them. Substance will be a factor. So I think society has a role to play in this. And I think also, even if a child has experience, even if society is not there for that particular child, what I mean society would be, I think the next point of contact for this child would be the school and extended family. And I think, overall, maybe government, So I think teachers have a role to play in this one. In some schools, especially, of course, we have many private schools springing up in Nigeria now, and then they have dedicated teachers as one-on-one to some of these young people who are struggling. Talent signs, trauma, abuse will always show, in a child, and you will always kind of identify a child who is traumatized in terms of the way they behave and some other untoward behavior even within the school. So, assessment, knowing the nature of the abuse, if a teacher or the school is able to earn the trust of this particular child, and before the child start to resort to all form of other ways of coping, example, drug, I think the school have a role to play in supporting this child. If school can meet all the needs, I think the role is that responsibility for them to involve extended family members as well. Otherwise, this child is just going to be left to continue to struggle within the abusive environment. And definitely, if the parents don't have, or they don't even have the insights that this child is being traumatized, it continues and they become helpless, and then things get out of hand. Definitely, of course, drug abuse would be part of one of the complications of untoward effects of constant abuse. I'm not sure, maybe Dr. Komolafe would help with this, because I'm not aware or conversant with what role the school, the government, or the social service will play in identifying a child who is going through trauma within the nuclear family system in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Komolafe. You have been challenged there.
Yes, so many roles there, and just like you did say in your previous answers, there is what we have in house to route that. We call it parental emotional connection assessment therapy, which in the course of the year we will liaise with NDLEA to serve it across Nigeria and in all schools through PTA. Mr. Femi Babafemi, no, that's our guy at the top. Francis, right? Please engage with me later so that we'll discuss it at length and we'll see how to create a national stakeholders forum through the PTA to donate that to all parents through schools so that they will know that there's a world of difference between paying school connected or emotionally connected to a child and financially connected. Very many of us parents are not emotionally attached to our children. They live one life at home and another in school or outside their house. So they are not able to even discern the current status quo ante of those children. They package at home while they cause damage outside the house. They wear something at home just to please dad and mom and then live anyhow in school. What can we do to route this? One, know your child. Know his abilities. Sir? Sir? Okay. Please go ahead, Dr. Komalaka. Okay. Know his vulnerability. Be your brother's keeper. Be your child's keeper. Engage in critical interaction that leads to interface and then intervention. Approaches. When you just go confronting headlong, people can just tell you lies. And anybody in addiction will tell you, it doesn't take them 3 seconds to just fabricate a lie. It's part and parcel of the symptom of the package. So, please, very vital, watch the gap analysis. This boy is not the quiet type. He's not a fledgman. Why is it that today is been so quiet, so close, draw close, over how now, what's going on, psych him up, play with him, who say, I hope you are not taking drugs, I hope you are not. So, some of these things matters a whole lot. Care, just care, laughing, smiling, getting words out of them, by putting some words, they will likely respond to. So if you know his frailties and vulnerabilities, you can come from that angle. Usually what we give people when we train them is use idea method to profile anybody. I for identification. Who is this guy? Is this his normal behavior? Is it an adaptive or maladaptive one? Identify. Then D. Define his status now. Do what he said. Do the questions you are posing to him. Then E. Take your evaluation. I identify. D. Define the state now. And then evaluate based on the previous two. And before you know it, you will even own up. What we see mostly is that they break down in tears and they own up. Oh, this is what is happening. In fact, I'm just thinking of ending it all. By the time you are hearing that, you know that's a suicide ideation and all of that. And then you quickly know what to do. Motivation does not solve problem. It is intervention. Dr. Omokoye will tell you that. It's not enough to say you have more to live for. So get in touch with a professional. You can do all kinds of suicide cases and all that, online, offline, and real, even including a priest, a pastor who wanted to go and kill herself. Just call and say, doctor, I'm going to kill myself and nobody should look for me. I abandoned everything I was doing, picked the car, ran to the house, and when I got to the house, she was still there. I didn't talk about killing or not killing. I took her out of that toxic environment because as far as that case was concerned, she was already in a torment. So I took her out of that place to a field.
Today, I was the head boy.
Banana. Them say cocaine on drug abuse is dangerous.
Thank you, sir. And that is all on our conversation this week on Xspace.
If you no feed my cow, you brother go buy cow.
Thank you, sir. And that is all on our
No, dear, I think more than 50 I have there, but let me just, there is one that is related to the one that is being tackled at the moment. Let me that one, let me locate it. Okay. Dr. Omokaye, as you answer this, then at the end of your response, you may have to just go ahead and give your closing remarks because we are approaching the hour of 5 p.m. local time here. Okay, that's when the point we draw the curtain on the conversation today. So quickly, there is this one from Abu here. Abu, again. Wow, what's that? Okay, Abu again was very appreciative of your presentation and the deep insights, the knowledge shared and all of that. He said, I thank you, Abu, for that. And then he asks, we have seen some settings where children are raised by parents who themselves abuse drugs. Can I ask Dr. Mokai, are there children who abuse drugs? Okay, our parents are children of substance abusing parents more likely to develop behavioral disorders? All right, that's his question, Dr. Mokai. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Abu, for that question. Well, of course, definitely, we all know the behavioral copycat. If a parent is using substances within the household, of course, there is always that tendency that that child would want to try it as well. Starting from something like smoking, and trying all other substances, as the case may be, because children is all about copying adults' behavior, especially those who they are closer with. Often they don't see anything wrong if dad is doing it or mom is doing it. Why can't I try it? And just like we all know, children start from experimenting. They just want to see how it feels. They're looking at their parents as their role model. Also, scientifically, and I think has been proven by epigenetics, parents who are abusing drugs their children have more propensity of using substances as well. I hope that answers the question.
I should think so. Then let's have your closing remarks. I would like to thank you, Dr. Wasi. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. This is really a thought-provoking session. Thank you, Dr. Komolafe, for your contribution. That was really, really helpful. So I want to thank the moderator, Mr. Femi Babafemi. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I also want to thank Mr. Francis, who has been in touch with me all this while, setting me up yesterday to participate in this. I want to thank all the participants, especially teachers and parents, for attending this important session. NDLEA is doing a wonderful job, and I want to echo what Mr. Babafemi said earlier on. It's not all about politics. We all know that if there is no demand, definitely there's no supply. It is not just about controlling substances within our society, also controlling the use of it, and also managing the complication associated with substance misuse is the public health problem now. And I think you'll all agree with me that in the last few years, without quoting any statistics, there has been an onward trend in the prevalence of various substance misuse within the Nigerian and African setting. I can understand in America there has been a downward, projection, but most people would not want to agree with this, but there is actually has been. So with this kind of presentation, which of course focus on prevention at the early stage, focusing on children, which, of course in the next maybe 5 to 10 years, hopefully the prayer would be that we will start to experience a downward trend within the Nigerian society. Thank you.
All right, we would like to thank Dr. Wasiu Omokaye for that brilliant presentation and quite insightful responses there. We appreciate you, Doc, for finding time. That's sparing. We know what that amounts to 2 hours of your sterling time in the UK to be with us on this space today. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you very much for your support and giving this out or doing this for humanity. Like we often say, we may not know or appreciate enough how far this goes. These conversations, they are recorded, and so quite a lot of people take them to some other settings where they are played, where people listen to them and gain insights, benefit from the information, from the knowledge shared there, and by doing this, you never can tell how many lives this is saving. So we'd like to appreciate Dr. Omokaye and all of those that have made this possible today. Dr. Omokaye is a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist with the Oxford Health NHS Foundation Trust in England. He is also a member of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. Indeed, Dr. Omokaye has a background in public health and a focus on epidemiology and advanced biostatistics. It brings a strong evidence-based approach to supporting young people's mental health. He's been with us for the past 2 hours. We appreciate him, and we continue to be grateful to him and all our compatriots who have joined us from across the world today to be a part of this. Thank you very much sincerely. We appreciate especially also Dr. James Komolafe, who has been also very resourceful and providing support on this platform. A great partner with the agency, with the NDLA in this regard. I've also seen a number of our great partners. That's Dr. Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah joins us on the handle of Mental Health Foundation. Thank you very much to Dr. Abdullah and everyone that have made this a success today. I'd like to also appreciate my colleagues working behind the scene with me here, Rita Musa Francis Daily, Kombi, Meta, Peace, and Jane, then Victor. Thank you very much, guys, and all of those could not mention their names. I recognize and appreciate your contributions. This is how far we will go this week. Now, don't forget, it's Friday, but then don't let us say because it's Friday, we lose our guards. Let's keep our eyes open, avoid doing things that we may regret in some days, weeks, or months to come. Let's stay awake, alert, and be careful. Especially, let's avoid contact or experimenting with illicit substances. It will lead us to nowhere. That's the much we'll take this week. We'll be back again, same time by the grace of God next week with another topic and with another guest also joining us on this space. I'll leave you in the hands of my colleague Bandele to formally close the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that is all on our conversation this week on Xspace. The conversation is recorded and streamed on our social media platforms, so our listeners can always play back to listen again. For more information and inquiries, kindly visit the agency's website on www.ndla.gov.ng and our social media pages at ndla_Nigeria on X, Instagram, and YouTube, while on Facebook it is at ndla01. Until next week when we shall come your way again, always remember that it is better to stay off drugs than get off drugs. My name is Bamdele Fadansi. Do have a wonderful weekend and bye for now.
Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. Don't try to. He go choke you. He go steal your sunshine. He go shock you. They don't believe any use for my area. Even for your area. But when you start it to stop, it don't go easy. I see they drag down, they drag you down. What back for my eyes, oh. When I remember all the guys, oh. Many of them kick it forget, oh. Some people forget, oh. Make we don't forget, oh. Don't forget, oh. Say, because you see body, oh. But don't push your busy body. If you die, it goes hard, oh. But I help me to somebody. Because you see body, oh.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
Don't do drugs.